Welcome, risers. It's that time once again for the Agent Rise podcast. And today we've got a very, very special guest on, Greg Chaplain from Virginia Beach. Greg, my friend, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Neil. Thanks for having me today. This is a treat to address your audience, and really looking forward to this.
I've always admired you, and I'm just honored to have you on the show. And I want to get inside your mind a little bit and share, if you could, share with everybody how you've built your business. If you could take us to the very beginning, like how did you get into real estate, and what type of business have you built? And if you could share that, and then today we'll unpack more so that we got a lot of goodies here for you. Is what I'm trying to tell you, people. Just hold tight here. So, Greg, if you could tell us how it all began.
Absolutely. Well, Neil, I like many other people that find themselves in the real estate space, I failed at something else first, right? So I'm a corporate refugee. I came out of school in the late '80s and got into the wine business. I was in the consumer packaged good industry. I was working in the wine industry and climbing that corporate ladder. Our company was one that grew through acquisition and internal development. And long story short, I managed through 8 acquisitions, and the 9th one got me. So I was let go in December of 2004, and with a stay-at-home wife, mother of two kids in private school, and a new mortgage. I interviewed like crazy. In the first 30 days, I interviewed 25 times. I was networking, driving home from the airport with my severance package, riding shotgun. I was literally calling people, who do you know? And I was working my database. Didn't know what that was at the time, but I was doing it. And long story short, I interviewed a bunch in the first month, and then things started to dry up. I took real estate school for something to do so I wouldn't be bored during the day. I took it online because I needed to be able to jump on an airplane and fly to wherever an interview might be. And I got licensed in real estate the same week that all my other corporate opportunities dried up. And literally looked at the sky and said, really, this is what you want me to do? So I knew a couple of people in real estate that I spoke with them, and they knew me from obviously prior to real estate. They knew me from my corporate experience, and said, okay, this guy's got something he can bring to the table. And next thing I knew, I was in real estate. I started off as a practitioner. I was very fortunate to start my career on a team. And in 2005, that was a rare bird. There weren't a lot of teams out there at that point. And this was an extremely well-run, well-led team that had grown through the early 2000s, which was a robust market. And but what it did was it exponentially increased my learning curve, because I was sitting in a room with 12, 14 other agents that were killing it. And I was just learning by being in the room, the old fly on the wall. And I was listening to how Neil would talk to his client, and I knew the issue he was trying to work out. And I listened. I really like how he did that. I like how he, left him feeling good about, we got a little crisis going on here, but I got your back and I'm going to lead you through it. I was like, okay, this is good. So I just learned. I ended up co-owning that team. Long story, the partnership just wasn't going to work out. So I left in 2000, basically January 1st, 2009, when I came to the real estate group. The real estate group was a brokerage that I was somewhat familiar with. I had co-brokered with many of their agents, always found them to be exceptional, always found them to be professional, competent, well-trained, well-developed. And, I could have made a lot worse decisions than coming here. When I came here, the thing that drew me here and the thing that kept me here for over 16 years was the leadership and the character of the company. What I was trying to build and what they were trying to build were running on parallel tracks. So we never contradicted each other. And I was like, okay, I can believe in their mission because I'm trying to develop the same thing. They could believe in my mission so they could support me at the nth degree as a team leader. And so we grew that team. So starting in 2009 until current, it's still in existence. We built that team for 17 years. And that's not a normal thing either, right? For a team to last that long.
Yes.
And some faces have come and some faces have gone, and that's normal. Yeah, we built that, we scaled that team. Now, one of the questions you had was, how did you build your business? Well, very early in my career, maybe 6 months in, I was very fortunate to stumble across Brian Buffini and the Brian Buffini system. I saw him at a half-day retreat, and the way he presented his system was, one, I came out of the corporate structure where I built sales teams for a living. That's for 15 years. That's what I did in the corporate world, was building sales teams, anywhere from 4 to 250 people with layers of management and all that stuff. So when I heard it was a very systemized industry that I came out of, when I saw Brian present his methodology as a system, I immediately recognized I can do that. I can follow a system. If you give me the system, I can follow the system. And then if it doesn't work, it's your fault. It's not mine. Right. And so if it works, it works. So I implemented that, and immediately, I started working my referral. Yes, I had some other strategies because I was a new agent. I had to go out and, hunt some business down too, some chase strategies. And so I did some open houses, and I also was calling some leads that were coming in at the team level, and just things like that for the first couple of years to get my feet off the ground. And as I mentioned earlier, my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and we had 2 kids in private school and a new mortgage. I tell people all the time, I didn't get into real estate to try real estate. I get into real estate to do real estate because, kind of like Yoda, there is no try.
That's right.
If I failed, my family was going to suffer. And
Yeah.
so there was no, we burn the ships, right? We're going this way. This is going to work. I know I can do it. We're going to do it. And I
Yeah.
had great support, and I had a great team leader, and I had a great team around me, and they supported me. And then when I came to the real estate group, same thing, great leadership, great support, and we grew from there.
And now you're in the leadership role at Treg as well. So you're
Right.
you're you're leading the whole company now, and
Yeah. A
it's
year ago, I
crazy.
acquired the company and
Yeah.
moved into the principal broker role. So I kind of weaning myself out of production after 21 years. The team is doing fine. I'm
Yeah.
just not producing it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm over here now running I traded in a team of 8 agents for a team of 208 agents, in levels and things like in levels management and things like that. So yeah, I'm just in a different chair. I'm obviously loved what I did as a team leader, but this was an opportunity. Gary, our founder,
Yes.
he and I have been talking about it for years, and this was an opportunity for him. It was an opportunity for me to climb the next mountain. This was the next challenge for me. And so that became reality about a year ago. Uh, so we've made that transition and continue to make that transition.
Exciting, Greg. If we could unpack a little bit, you built your business referral by referral only, Brian Buffini. If we could unpack that a little bit, like what exactly did you do? That I know that there was, other open houses, online leads, chase pillars, and things like that. But I just really want to stick around the sphere of influence for a little
Right.
bit. And
Right.
you built, relationships. You did B2B. You did a lot in that arena. Can you unpack that a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah. Um, and that's a good pickup too, because that all right. All right. Oh, he did the Buffini system. Okay, great. But there's a lot that goes into that,
That's
right?
it.
So
Yes.
it starts off with just, you're chasing everything you can possibly chase to get some business going. And that's what it was for me too. Same as every other brand new agent. Um, I showed up every day, right? I showed up in the office every day, 8 o'clock with my shirt and tie on. And if I didn't have an appointment, I was gonna be there because I knew I'd learned from the people around me, number one. Secondly, when I first saw the Buffini system, I recognized it quickly as a system, and that's the way it was presented. And I knew immediately I could implement because there was nothing there that I was unwilling to do. There was nothing there that I knew I couldn't do. And I said, okay, as long as I follow the system, I'm going to get the results. Obviously, that starts initially on your personal sphere. So, you put a list of names together, and then you start qualifying those people, Um, hey, I don't know, Neil, if I went into real estate recently. Do you have a realtor that you would refer if you knew someone buying or selling a house? Yes, I do. My mom's a realtor. Great. Glad to know that, Neil. Glad you have someone good you can refer. Next, next, next. But many of them said, no, I really don't have anybody off the top of my head. And I said, well, I'd like to be that guy. I'd like to provide value to you. And what I mean by that is I'm now doing this full time. My nose is at the grindstone. I'm understanding, paying attention to the content that's in the marketplace. I can make sure I provide that to you. And then if you got any questions on it, you've always got me to bounce questions off of, and I'll get you the answers. If I don't know the answers, I'll find it. And so I was asking for an invitation, right? I'd like to be your guy. If you've already got a guy or a gal, God bless you. I won't market to you for referrals. But for those who didn't have someone specific, I would like to be your real estate professional. I want to be in the circle of financial trust. You know, if all hell was breaking loose financially, who are the people you would call? You'd call your banker, you'd call your insurance man, you'd call your financial planner, and maybe you'll call your realtor. And if I'm in that circle of financial trust for somebody, then, you know, it's more than just being a trusted advisor, but I'm in that, you know, you got to earn your way into that. So I did so with value, by adding value and always coming to the table with something. And I don't necessarily mean, you know, toys. I mean, the value is always in the relationship, more so than any item or any even piece of information that I can provide for you. The item of value is always you. You're the item of value. And when someone sees that you're pursuing a relationship with them, you're attracted to that naturally. And so I just wanted to be and develop those relationships with people that I knew in life. That's where it started. Now, when I first saw Brian's system, his original 100 Days to Greatness product, he said something in there that a lot of people just glazed right over, but it caught my ear because of my experience in the corporate world. And that was this. He said that every real estate business has, I think he said, like 5 pillars of income, which is interesting because you have 3 pillars of strategies, right? I just love that. But he had, there's 5 pillars to your income. 1 is the people you know prior to getting real estate. 2 is the people you're going to meet while you're in real estate. 3 is business owners and business to business. 4 is this. 5 is this. And he went right by it. And when I heard business to business, I'm like, wait, that's what I've been doing for the last 4 to 5 years in the corporate world. I was working business to business. I had to learn how to manage managers. I had to learn how to work with managers of other companies. They weren't in my corporate pyramid structure. They would work other companies. So I had no, using air quotes, authority over them. I had only the influence that I could bring with a relationship and by adding value and by serving them. I could influence maybe some of their decisions and some of their efforts. If I could do that and achieve my goals through their efforts, that was my job. So I understood how to work with people that don't, or, it's not like a boss-employee relationship where I can make you do what I need you to do. This is more of a, how do I influence and get my goals accomplished through other people, through other companies. So when I heard business to business, that was the first thing that went into my brain was, well, of course, there's other small businesses out there. How can I serve them? How can I be a resource for them? And then build and educate them on, not that I'm going to become their teacher or their coach. That's not what I mean. But when I say educate, provide a thought process that would allow them to recognize, oh, I can be in a reciprocating relationship with Greg. He's going to add value to me. I can add value to him. And then it was just a matter of the education piece I'm referring to is identifying and also explaining what value I'm looking for. And then, but asking you, what value can I bring to you? So before I ever had any business to business transactions, I started working towards building relationships with people who owned other businesses. And I say business owner, I also mean influencers. So, someone who's a vice president of a company has an influence over a lot of people. And so that's a relationship I would pursue. Obviously, a business owner is another relationship I could pursue. And they obviously have, influence as well. So that's kind of where that started, and it started off by my just making a few phone calls and asking to meet for coffee and, um, kind of picking their brain. This is what I also did when I left the corporate field before I even started in real estate. I was calling business owners and people of influence that I knew and inviting them to coffee just to pick their brain on, hey, I got let go. You know anybody? Do you know any opportunities? Do you know someone who might know someone who knows someone that has an opportunity? I mean, how can, you know, s- 7 layers to Kevin Bacon kind of thing? You know anyone that might know somebody? And oh, yeah, I know this guy over that runs this company. Well, let me call him. Would you introduce me to him? Yes, I will. Okay. So if I was doing this kind of stuff, then I get into real estate. I'm like, okay, well, now I have something to share. I have value to add, but I also have something specific I'm looking for. And I'm going to make sure that I add value to you before I'm asking for that. But that's ultimately, I want a reciprocating relationship.
So when you get into a meeting with somebody, right? You know somebody that is a business owner, and like, wow, this is be a perfect person to network with. You have a direct question that you ask that I think is so good and so gold. Could you speak to that?
I sure will. And I'll tell you where I got it from too, because everything good I've got, I stole from somebody else. Working in the Buffini system, I had a coach, and my coach, Dave, would talk about this all the time. And he helped me fine tune my dialogues, and he helped me fine tune my process, and he talked me off the ledge a couple times, and don't chill, that kind of thing. But one phrase he taught me, Neil, has made me more money than any other single phrase in real estate. And is this very simple question. As I get to know someone who's a business owner, I want to find out about their business. Hey, I told you how I got into business. How did you get into business? Right? What made you want to start a plumbing contracting company? What made you want to start a car detailing company? Um, did you grow up in that business? Is it a family business? Did you just decide one day you want to do it? I'm not college material. I want to start something else. Or I just don't want to deal with college. I'll go do something else. How did you do it? And then what training was involved? And how does your business grow? And, is it a business that grows, uh, with income from families that's necessity, or is it discretionary? I really want to unpack what your business is about. But then the one question that I'll always get to that really makes them stop and think is I'll say, Neil, what does a good referral look like to you? And I just throw that one out there. And you want to know something funny? Most business owners have really never thought about it because no one's ever asked them the question before. And they'll go on, they might talk about a couple of different things. Well, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. And most business owners know kind of what adds value to their business. So they have an answer. But sometimes they stop and think, and they'll come back later in the conversation. Back to that question about what a good referral looks like to me, and they'll add to it. And in today, I do this with my agents. I do this with what I'm asking them to do is to build an avatar for me, paint a word picture for me of what perfect referral looks like to Neil Mathweg. What's the perfect? Like, I couldn't have asked for a better referral. Right? The short answer is, well, realtors, but not all realtors are created equal, right, Neil?
That's right.
Okay. You've
Yes.
got some
Yeah.
that are going to be coachable, and you got some that aren't going to be coachable. You got
Yeah.
some that will not question and they'll implement, and then you got some that won't. So what's the perfect referral look like to you? It's someone that's coachable, teachable, understands the value of coaching, understands the value of a systematic approach. If I could find that person and introduce them to Neil Mathweg, that's a win-win relationship right there. So that's what I wanted them to do for me. Paint me a word picture. Because a referral is just a word. If I ask you, hey, Neil, would you refer me? You go, sure, I will. No one ever really says no to that, but they don't really understand what that means. What it means to them, I found out. What it means to them is if someone walked up to you and said, Neil, I need to sell my house. Do you know a realtor that I can work with? And you would say, yes, I do. I'll refer you to my friend Greg. But that doesn't happen hardly ever at all. People talk in their with their friends and with their family and with their acquaintances. Not directly like that, like, hey, I need a realtor. Who do you know? Sometimes they do, but it's very rare. What they most likely do is say, I just found out my job's transferring me to Richmond. Oh, no kidding. When are you leaving? Yeah, like in 3 months. Yeah. That's a real estate conversation. They're not asking for a realtor. They're just talking about a situation in life. And if I educate clients and I educate business owners that when you hear by painting a word picture, by telling you that story, I've now created a word picture so that when someone says, yeah, I find out I'm relocating. Greg mentioned that. Yeah. You can turn that into a realtor conversation and go, someone you really ought to talk to in the process of this move is my realtor, Greg. You probably see it. He specializes in maximizing people out and put you in the best position when you get up in Richmond. Why do they know those words? Because I told them that's what I did. I painted a word picture. And people will remember that. But if you say, hey, will you refer me? And someone says, yeah, I'm moving to Richmond. They don't necessarily go, okay, that means in about 3 months, you're going to be leaving the area. You're going to be moving to somewhere else. You're going to be moving their family, be moving their kids. They're probably going to have to find a new place to live. Who finds places to live? Oh, realtors do that. Okay, now I can connect you to my realtor. They're not going through that. It's not natural. And so there's all kinds of these word pictures. When I use with clients, I say, who that's like busting at the seams, like they bought a 2-bedroom back in 2020. Now they just found out they're having their 4th kid. They need space, and I can help them with that. And I'll tell a client that when I see them, and they, oh, geez, that's interesting. Someone mentioned that the other day, and okay, that's an opportunity for a referral. But if without the word picture, it's just a word. It's the only time you're going to get a referral from that is when someone specifically comes and asks them for a realtor. By the way, my coach taught me that too. Okay. But what does a good referral look like to you? Gets the wheels turning. Paint me a word picture for the perfect referral. And then I know what I'm looking for when I'm out in the marketplace. And when I see it, I'll recognize it and I'll tie them back.
And it truly is, the more referrals you give, the more you get, right? Like, I mean, it works like the
Funny how that
relationship
works.
builds,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
if you're constantly really understanding how to give a referral, like I don't think a lot of us are taking the time to do that. You even go a step further, and if the opportunity aligns, you'll even do some co-branding marketing with them where you'll
Yeah.
form a relationship. Can you
Yeah.
speak to opportunities like
Sure.
that?
Sure. Neil, what you said just before that too, about that, the reciprocating, law sowing and reaping. It's not my role, but it works, right?
Yeah.
So let's get back to your question. So that the co-marketing piece. So once I understand what you're looking for, once I understand that there's, I'm going to give you an example. And this was an example that kind of blew my mind. And I'm like, okay, I can learn from this. I was sitting down not at the same time, but like over the course of a couple of years, I met with a guy that owned a HVAC contracting company. And he had been in business a couple of years. And when I asked him the question, and he did some work for one of my clients, he did a marvelous job. He charged a fair price and he was professional. And I referred him again and he did a good job. And I referred him again, and he did a good job. And I said, hey man, I'd love to pick your brain. What can I take you to coffee? He's like, sure. So we met and, I asked him all the questions that we talked about earlier, but then I asked him, what does a good referral look like to you? And he says, well, service contract, he said, installations. He said, my company is me and my brother and a white van with our name and phone number painted on the side. That's our business. Okay. We're not scaling. It's just us. And if we can get 1 or 2 installations, which is about a $8,000 to $10,000 job, 60, 10,000, whatever. If we can get 1 or 2 of those a week, we both get paid. All our expenses are paid. Our wives are happy. We get to take them out to dinner on Friday and life is good. And I'm like, duly noted. I'll start looking for, so who's candidate for that? Well, people whose HVAC systems are nearing the end of its design life, or people who's actually calling me going, Greg, my HVAC stopped. Who do you know? I know a guy. Yeah. And they'll do repairs too. Don't get me wrong. They're not going to say no to repair. But if they're doing an installation somewhere and I call them with a repair, they're going to say, well, Greg, I can't get to that one until next Tuesday because they're going to do the installation. That's the big behemoth for them. Okay, no problem. I got another guy I can call to get the repair done, right? But you're still if I know any installations are coming your way. So a couple of years later, I was meeting with another HVAC contractor, business owner. And I got to the point and I asked him, what's a good referral look like to you? And without batting an eye, he said, service contracts. I said, service contracts? That's like a $150 job. He goes, yeah. He goes, I got 10 trucks, 10 crews, warehouse full of parts. I got to keep those guys on the street. I got to keep them paid. I got to volume. I need volume. And so his ideal referral was a service contract, which is every 6 months, I'm going to come out and for $150, I'm going to check your system, check the coils, clean it out, check your filters. Okay, man, that's $150 and on to the next one. That blew my mind because I totally thought he was going to tell me installation. Now he'll get those installations in time, right? Because if you're serving 400 clients with service contracts and one of them, their system goes haywire, they're going to call you. He's relevant to them. So he's going to get his installations, but if he waits around for the installation, he's got to lay guys off. And he's a good guy. He doesn't want to do that. So I said, okay, you blew my mind. That's not what I was expecting you to say. So I said, well, how many new service contracts can you guys handle? And his answer was, I'll take as many as I can get. If I got to buy another van and start an 11th crew, I'll do it. I was like, okay. I said, well, here's what we could do. Here's an idea. I said, I service a database of about 650 people. Most of them know me. I mean, when I call, my name shows up on their phone. I mean, these aren't leads. These aren't random people. These people know me, like me, and trust me. Most of them have done real estate with me. Some of them haven't, but they know me. And I said, here's what we could do. What do you charge for a service contract? And he said, $150. I said, okay. For my clients, one time, what can you do it for? Give me a price. Can you do it for $75? And he goes, about 85. Whatever. I don't care what the number is. Let's say it's 100 to make the math easy, right? It was probably less than that. He said, no, I'll do it. I'll do it for anybody you refer to me one time for blank dollars. Obviously the next time is going to be 150. I'm like, absolutely. I said, so I'm going to put a coupon together. I'm going to have my logo on it, your logo on it. This was even before Canva. We put this thing together on clip art or some dumb thing like that, right? We created this coupon and it basically said, HVAC service, $100, normal price, $150, $50 savings, something to that effect. If you got dual zone heating and air, it's going to be, they'll give you the same price on both units for the first one, but then it goes up from there. So for you, if you got zone heating and air, that's $100 savings. And I said, here's what I'm going to do, Gary. I'm going to mail that out to all 650 people in my database. Now that's not 650 mailings. It's because there's families, right? Husbands and wives. So it's probably 400 pieces of mail going out. And then I'm going to call behind them. And I'm going to say, hey, Neil, did you get the coupon that I sent you in the mail? I don't know. I didn't check the mail this week, right? I don't know. Okay, don't worry. Doesn't matter if you say, yes, it's sitting right here in front of me now. I was anticipating your call, Greg. Right? That never happens. But if it were, that's one reaction. The other reaction is, I have no freaking clue. I haven't checked the mail this week, which is normally what I heard. I said, Neil, it doesn't matter. When I hang up, I'm going to email you. And I said, this is a great deal. I got a guy that owns a really reputable service contract HVAC contracting business here in town. He's giving my preferred clients a special deal, half price on servicing. We're in pollen season right now, Neil. Get this guy out there. Let him clean out your system. You'll be all set for the summer. If there's any widgets that need to be corrected, he'll correct them, but your system will be top notch for the summer. And I endorse my friend. I endorse the business. And hey, look, I'm going to email you the coupon, print it out, give the guy a call, get him scheduled. Okay. I don't know how many did. Let's say of the 400, let's say 100 did. Um, that's pretty good, right? So he'd get, his guys get a little bit. So I met him about 3 weeks later and we had coffee again. I said, all I want, and I said, Gary, when we do this, if we agree to do this, when I bring you the coupon, if you're doing a sales meeting, bring this into your sales meeting and show all your guys, hold it up and say, guys, this is a coupon I'm doing with Greg. And if I can beat it, great. But not, here's a coupon we're putting together for this guy. We're going to do half price for his clients. So if you see this, we're honoring this. Okay. I said, I'm going to make sure your guys aren't like, what's this crazy coupon that you did on Clip Art, right? That it's actually legit. And so he did that. He told all his guys in the sales meeting, keep your eye out for this. And so 3 weeks later, I said, all you got to do for me, Gary, is document whom you service that provided this coupon. Give me a name and address or just a name. Because what I want to do is after the service, I'm going to call him again and I'm going to follow up and I'm going to say, how'd it go? Well, it went great. I mean, guy, I don't know what he did, but it was only $100. And I guess he said the system looked pretty good. Excellent. Excellent. So I'm going to follow up on it. And so 3 weeks later, I met him, Neil, and I said, so how's it going? Give me the names of the people you've served. He goes, man, we've never been busy. And not just because of me, no, not just because of what we did, but all right, maybe the business was picking up anyway because it's spring, but it certainly didn't hurt. Right. And I don't know, ultimately we probably got them 50 to 75 new clients that they just put right into their system and they served them for years and years and years. Funny, I would go back after years because I'd get a call from my database and say, hey, Greg, we're moving. Come over and tell me what you think you can do for the house. And I'd go over there and every one of them would tell me, oh, by the way, Gary, we've had our HVAC service every 6 months for the last whatever years. And I'm like, was it Gary? And he goes, yeah. All right. And it's just, just kind of, endorsing each other.
I love it.
And now my reciprocation to that, Neil, was, hey, Gary, so here's what here's what a good referral looks like to me. Anybody looking to buy or sell, I can maximize their profitability here, set them up where they're going. If they're moving out of the area, if they're going to move up in this market, I'm certainly going to help them with that. But if they're moving away, I know realtors all over North America. And so I don't care what city they're moving to. I probably know an agent there, or I know an agent who knows an agent there. And I can set up with a real professional where they're going. And so I got, his HVAC business didn't really put him in, he was in homes and things like that. But I'll tell you, the reciprocation that I got wasn't necessarily clients he was serving. You know who it was? It was the guys that worked for him at the company. Because anytime any one of them told Gary, hey, Gary, my wife and I are thinking about buying a house, he's like, you're going to use Greg. Yeah. And I'd actually helped some of Gary's family members, like his sister was moving in town or several of his guys. And some of his guys would leave the company and they would still use me. And so I ended up with multiple pieces of business from this, but it wasn't necessarily the clients that we sent the coupons to.
And it blesses your clients. It's giving
gosh,
your database a coupon that's valuable, and then you're reciprocating and meeting them and just good stuff.
Well, the number one concern I hear in coaching agents, and I'm going to look for your head nod on this one because you probably hear the same thing, is the reluctancy to make phone calls to your databases. Well, I feel like I'm bugging them. I feel like they hear from me enough. I feel like well, first of all, you're not. But second of all, if I knew for a way for you to save $50 to $100 and I didn't call you, you'd be like, great. What? Well, am I good enough for the thing?
The love. Yeah.
Like, where's the love, man? So when I'm calling somebody, what it did is it took I don't want to use the word fear factor, but it took the call reluctancy factor off the table, not just for me, but for all my agents. Because we would do this and then we would extrapolate it because I taught all my agents how to do this. At one point we had about 13 agents, and we were all, I was kind of coaching them up on how to do.
Well, see, and it's like, you get where when you're calling somebody, when you feel like you're bugging them, you're calling because you're asking for something. And in this case, you're calling to give them something
Give
and
them
give it
something.
something really of value. I
Yeah.
I I I remember I struggled calling my sphere until I started doing client events. Like
Yeah.
once I
Right.
started doing client events, I'm like, I'm throwing a party. You want to come?
You want
And
to come? Yeah. It
yeah,
was an
what a
invitation at
theory
that
to make.
point. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
this is
do,
where
we do two main client events a year sponsored by our firm. And I just actually did a class for agents on how to build into that. And it starts with a phone call and it starts with an invitation. And then all the contact you're making over the course of about 9 weeks on a client event with, 6 weeks building in, 3 weeks building out. All those contacts have a purpose and they have a focal point. They have a true north, and the true north is the event. And so you've always got a reason to call and reach out to somebody. And it's not because you're asking for something, right? You're building that equity. You're deepening the relationship. You're adding value to the relationship.
And I'd like, when I think about word of mouth business, I think that most just sit back and think that it just works itself, and it really doesn't. I mean, but it's about intention like this,
Yeah.
providing value
Yes.
like this, right?
Yes. Yes. And actually I use that phrase, working by word of mouth, and I split the hair between working by word of mouth and working by referral. I actually make it a point to say working by referral is not working by word of mouth, because working by word of mouth is very much happenstance. It's very much, if I do a good job, I charge a fair price, and I'm a professional, people will refer me. And you're right, they will. And you and I both know businesses that have built huge businesses because they were honest and fair, good practitioners. They were confident in what they did, and they were professional. And we all, anybody in the real estate space or in business in general, knows people who have built businesses on that. But they'll never get the amount of referrals that Mathweg or Greg Chaplain will get, because we're systematic about our approach. If I'm implementing Brian Buffini's process, or I'm implementing Agent Ride's process, and then I'm using specific dialogues to paint word pictures, that exponentially builds referrals. The difference between working a system and then working a system and being very deliberate. The working the system is the deliberate part, as opposed to working by word of mouth. You just kind of, like you said, waiting around. I charge a fair price. I'm a good guy, and I'm good at what I do. People will refer me, and they will, but you don't know when that's coming, right? If you're deliberate about it, that's like working a system. I've got a client event. I'm going to make a call with an invitation. I'm going to mail them a save the date. I'm going to follow up, make sure they got the save the date. I'm going to ask for an RSVP. I'm going to text them and say, hey, check your family schedule, because I need to know if you can attend. I need to order your ticket. Boom, I got the tickets. I'm going to pop by your house. I'm going to deliver the tickets. And then I'm going to call you a couple of days before the event, say, can't wait to see you on Saturday night. And then boom, we have an event. And I got contact, building all the way to that event. And
It's that rhythm, right? You're in that
yes,
rhythm, right?
yes,
And that makes your business predictable, right? Because if I do this and I follow this rhythm, what you've got dialed in, right? Like it's like clockwork for you. It's not, and I always say rhythm beats motivation, right? Like
yes,
the rhythm,
yes,
you don't have to be motivated to do this. You just follow the rhythm. And then because of this, you're making your business predictable and you're systematic. I love how you say that, working between word of mouth and working by referral, and how
yes,
systematic it really is.
yes. It's a systematic approach. Working and I split that hair on purpose to separate those two.
Yeah.
And then when you add like the specific dialogues, and what I mean by that is, referral is our word, right? And I've already explained, I paint the word pictures, but I've got to paint the word pictures based on who they are, what they do, and what their language is. So if I'm talking to a nurse, I'm talking about, anybody that's moving to a different hospital. Or do you know anybody that's moving into private care? I got to use some of their words. I can't just say, hey, do you know anybody that you can refer to? And so if I'm talking to someone in the military, I use words like, do you know anybody that's up for PCS, or do you know anybody that's up for rotation? Those are their terms for I'm about to move. And so if you use specific dialogues that mean something to them, in other words, it's already painted a word picture in their minds, right? Firemen, you know anybody changing stations? You know anybody changing districts? And they go, yeah, I know a guy changing his district. Because I've asked folks, let me go back to the military. I've got a lot of clients, obviously, you know this area, all 6 branches, DOD, all the 3-letter government official, organizations are all here. So I've always done a lot of work with the military. And I've asked some of my clients who are military, I say, hey, you know anybody that's relocating, or you know anybody that's about to move, or anybody looking to buy or sell? And they're like, I can't think of anybody. And then I say, do you know anybody up for PCS? And they're like, yeah, I know 5 guys that are up for PCS. And I'm like, boom, right? I said, well, I bet you 3 of them have a house to sell. And not only can I help them maximize here, but I can set them up wherever they're moving to: Jacksonville, Florida, San Diego, California, Fort Hood, Texas, Groton, Connecticut. I know wherever they're going. Trust me, I know an agent, because I've made it a point to connect with agents in other military areas over my career. I cultivated a database of about 110 agents in military prominent areas. And, so I can not only set them up here, I can set them up there. And they're like, oh, that'd be amazing. I should just introduce them. But if I ask them for a referral, or I ask them, hey, you know anybody looking to buy or sell? No, I can't think of anybody.
Never thought of that. That is brilliant. I mean, wow. And I think about the firefighters and police. I mean, all of that, just speaking their language.
Doctors. I started working with doctors maybe 8, 9 years ago. And we have a medical school here in Norfolk, Eastern Virginia Medical School. It's a pretty big school. And so I got in with some of the doctors over there. And the word for them is, do you know any of your residents who are about to get matched? Matched is when someone graduates from medical school and they get matched to a hospital that they go to become a resident. And I've already explained, I don't give a rip if it's in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, or San Diego, California, because I know an agent out there.
Right.
So I've gotten so many outgoing referrals because I'm in with a couple of docs up here, and they go, hey, I got 10 students who are about to get matched. Give me their names. Introduce me to them. And I'll call them and go, hey, I understand. Congratulations on graduating medical school. You don't know me. I'm a friend of your prof. I'm a friend of Dr. So-and-so. He mentioned you're about to get matched. I just want you to know, I work in this. I work a lot with doctors myself. When a doctor gets matched in Norfolk, I get the phone call. And I'm just saying, I can help you, because I don't know if you're from Dayton, Ohio. Okay. That's where you're going. I don't know if you're from there, but if you don't have family there, I know people that can, be a good resource for you and kind of help onboard you into the Dayton, Ohio area that you might not be so familiar with. And they're like, dude, thanks. Because if they don't have mom and dad and Uncle Bob and, their buddies, it's a little scary. And I learned that from the military. I help people move here all the time who've never been to Virginia before, let alone Norfolk, Virginia. And, they're from some state, Midwest, flyover state, or from the West Coast or something. And they were told by Uncle Sam, you're moving to Virginia. And that can be really scary.
Right.
Right. And so if I can help soften the blow a little bit on that and be a friend to them, I'm their first friend in their new market. And if I could present it that way and look, if you want to buy a house, great. If you don't want to buy a house and you want to rent, great. I'll point you in the right direction. It's cool. I'm not forcing you into something, but if you want to buy, I'll help you with that. So, and that's what I tell the docs too. I said, you may not want to buy in your next, where you're going to go next, but you might. And if you feel like you do, I can set you up. And if you feel like you just need some guidance, I can call a realtor friend that can meet you for coffee and show you where the good restaurants are, and show you where the good rentals are, and show you where the stadium is, if you want to be close to this or close to that or close to the hospital, they can point you in the right direction.
So good. I haven't heard
And value.
before. Greg, this is great, brother. What a treat. What a treat. And so now I think you can see, right, how Greg's built his business by referral. There's a big difference there instead of word of mouth. And I love that you divide that, and I learned that from you here today. I love, brother, man, how you're calling it, instead of just calling it moving, you speak in their language, man. That is just straight
Yeah.
up gold right there.
It helps them recognize in their brains who might be a candidate,
Right.
right? Because it's their vocabulary.
Yes.
So that, yeah, and that's just, and to give you an idea, Neil, I mean, what the business to business component, when I started on a team and co-owned the team, and when I came to the real estate group in 2009, January, um, the one thing, the catalyst for me being able to start a team and to grow a team was my business to business networking, because that brought in more business than Greg could personally handle. And then that gave me a platform to be able to scale a team out. And as I mentioned, we started off with four people and me, and we grew that thing to 13, 14 agents and 3 staff. Then we had a little bit of turnover when the market shifted in 23. We're currently at about 7 agents and 1 staff person, or 1.5 staff people. And so that's, we had a 5-year run, Neil, where we were selling more than 365 transactions every year. So more than 1 a day, nights, weekends, and holidays. We were doing more than one a day. And I mean, it was a good run,
Right,
and
right.
we had several years, we did over 400 transactions, and we're doing that with 12 people. So we were getting after it. Now, the catalyst for that was business.
Wow, so awesome to hear. Usually you hear a team that size, it's all online leads or all bought,
Yep,
and
yep,
it's not referral. It's
yep,
just beautiful what you can build.
yep.
And Greg, thank you so much for taking the time today and
My
sharing this
pleasure.
with us, brother. Such a pleasure. We were together at Real Estate Distilled. I felt like you were my conference buddy. We got to hang out a lot. It was great, man.
Yeah, it was a special
I
time.
just
I will
soak it
not
all
forget
up,
them.
man. I learned
Yeah,
so much from you, brother.
yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to be on the podcast. And Greg, how do they find you? You're on Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram, email is greg@treg.com. Treg stands for The Real Estate Group, The Real Estate Group. So treg.com is our website. You can check our company out there. Instagram, Real Estate Home Team is the production team that I refer to, Real Estate Home Team. And so that's a separate website that you could, learn about what's going on with that team as well, and see the practitioners. But yeah, we're growing, Neil. We're having a good run this spring, and we're excited about continuing to implement Agent Rise, and we're staunch believers in that process. I will tell you this, and I'll leave you with this. Because we grew through Sphere. I mean, that was it. Yeah, we had a couple chase things too, but it was Sphere. I didn't implement attract strategies until we were doing over $100 million a year. So again, I know in Agent Rise, it's like, do Sphere, do chase, get to attract, in time, but it's going to take time, energy, and money, right? But do these first 2 are critical to your growth and your success. And then we're going to bring in attract when it's the right time. And through coaching, through Agent Rise, and Neil Mathweg know the right time to bring in the attract piece and how to do it. I didn't have the benefit of that. I didn't know you at that time. So it came much later in my career, but it did come. So it's been a blessing. But thank you for your message. And Agent Rise as a company is just a phenomenal company. I'm so excited to implement it here at the Real Estate Group.
Appreciate it, brother. I love working with you all at Treg, and your partnership there. It's fantastic. I appreciate you, my friend. I wish I could give you a big hug from Fort Myers to Virginia Beach. From me to you,
That's
my
right.
friend. Appreciate
That's
you.
right.
Thanks so much for listening to the Agent Rise podcast. And like always, remember to be the reason somebody smiles today.